Hello, everybody. This is Megan.
And this is Alana.
And welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Hello, it's a new week of Tea Time Crimes.
TTC is here.
We're
How
here.
are you holding up? How are you liking this? Because, this isn't your jam.
Liking what?
The podcast. How are you liking the true crime stories? I mean, you said you'd give it a shot.
I'm enjoying it for the most part until it gets sad and gruesome.
Yeah. Today's case is sad.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Well, last week's was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's more fun when they're hundreds of years ago and
Yeah.
The details are fuzzy.
Yeah. But no, I look forward to it. So that's a sign.
All right. Cool. So what's new? What's going on this week?
I'm just sweating.
Okay. Are you nervous?
It's very hot here.
Yeah, it's hot here too.
It's like you're swimming when you go outside.
Yeah, it's not good. The older puppy does not like the heat because he's so fluffy.
Yeah, you have to do those early morning or late night walks.
Yes, early morning and late night he goes nuts and runs just circles around us like we're his cattle. But during the day, he just plops in the grass, tongue hanging out, and refuses to move.
Cannot.
Which I fully identify with.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you had a big event the other day.
Yeah, my voice is still recovering a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Last episode too. But yeah, I had to have surgery to correct. I have a blocked tear duct from a medical procedure I had a couple years ago, and usually blocked tear ducts only happen to babies. But it's
kind of funny.
It happened to me, and they had. You might want to earmuff if you're medically squeamish, but they had to drill a hole in my nose and then feed an artificial tube through that so they could bypass the original tear duct, which is now just scar tissue.
So it was through the bone?
Yeah. I mean, I assume it's a small hole, but...
Wow.
Yeah, so there's no cuts on my skin, but I've had a black eye for a minute now and swollen.
So your skull will look super cool.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you should be going for.
Yeah.
Like, think about archaeologists in a few hundred years, maybe 1,000, actually, if we're being real. Be like, whoa, was this like cosmetic, or was this part of a religion, or was it medical? And maybe they won't know.
Well, I hope they'll rule out cosmetic because I only had it done to one side of my face.
Yeah, but maybe that's the thing.
Maybe that was the bad side. Yeah, I guess it was not cosmetic. It's not changing. I feel like I've had a nose job without any of the benefits. I feel
terrible.
I mean, I look totally the same. It's just my face is swollen. But my eye was watering for 2 years. I was just continuously crying out of my left eye.
It was terrible.
Yeah, which doesn't sound
not fun.
Maybe it doesn't sound that terrible because it doesn't hurt, but the skin under my eye, the last 6 months could not take it anymore.
Yeah, just think about it. You're constantly having to wipe it. Like even if you've had a cold for a few days, think how raw your nose gets when you're wiping. Like that's for 2 years, okay, folks?
The whole skin underneath the eye, it would just blow up if I didn't put steroid cream on it daily, and my eye would sometimes swell shut, and it looked like I had pink eye all the time, which is, a good look on a professional Zoom call.
Cute.
I know. I always have to pull a tissue out of a pocket and wipe my eye. So people, the whole last 2 years, I was thinking people either think I'm constantly sick, and with COVID, they're oh, thank God she's behind a Zoom camera, not here, or they're thinking I'm super emotional and just sobbing at every chance. So, Anyway, yeah, but the actual surgery, the eye and the nose don't hurt too much, but I have trouble with the tube always, the intubation tube. Is that what it's called? Yeah. So my throat's really, really sore. It's finally feeling a lot better today, but I react a lot different. My throat always reacts way worse than a normal person. I could hear someone behind the curtain next to me just saying, "Oh, my throat's a little sore, but I feel great." And I couldn't even talk. I'm sitting there with Brad saying, he's like, "What?" I couldn't talk for a couple of days. So, but my voice is back and I'm here.
We're back, baby.
Yeah. And I'll do my best. They're just a little sniffly and a little hoarse, but that's it. Did you bring a tea today?
Of course I did. Are you ready?
That's what you got.
Pineapple Waikiki black tea. I'll give you one guess where that's from.
Your cupboard. Hawaii. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Gosh, you should have seen her face, folks. I'm so mad for me missing that setup.
It's from Hawaii. You'll find quality in every cup of our tea. Our premium quality teas blend remarkably well with exotic tropical fruit flavors to create fragrant and flavorful teas.
All right, well.
So I'm guessing this one is going to taste like pineapple. I brought a little milk because I'm not sure. This is a tough one, right? It's a black tea, but it's fruity. And you usually don't put milk with fruit.
Do you know sometimes I put milk in fruit tea if I'm feeling it? And I'm out of black
herbal fruit tea?
Sometimes.
Ugh.
I knew that would get you.
Oh, come on.
I wish I could capture the look of disgust on your face. Oh, goodness. That inhale knocked her off her chair. You all right? Is it strong smelling?
It's interesting. Pineapple, obviously. But there's a smokiness. Let's try it without the milk first.
Oh, please. Dislike. You don't like it?
Hold on.
You don't like it.
I mean, it's fine. It's kind of flat.
Glowing reviews.
It's a little flat. Like, I almost want to say that there's not a depth to the actual black tea itself.
Go ahead and say it.
Say what?
You said I almost want to say there's not a depth.
Every tea is different. Okay, here's a weird analogy. And you know how pools have steps?
Yes.
So instead of, like a nice full body black tea that has depth, you kind of step into it. It'll take you through the journey of its depths. For this one, you're just stepping off a cliff and going right into it, and then it's over.
I have an artificial stint in my eye, and I can't roll my eyes without it hurting. And I'm having to show incredible restraint right now.
Yeah, it's like I walk off a cliff and I'm done.
So does it just crash onto the rocks, or do you pop back up into the shallow end of this analogy?
You just slip into the water and you never are seen again.
Add some milk, and while you're doing that, could you bang that spoon just a little louder, please?
I think it's therapeutic.
It is. Are you somebody who likes pineapple on pizza?
No.
I didn't think so. See, I am. And so maybe I would like this tea.
I don't like sweet things in my pizza. Actually, that's not true. There's a pizza I love that is gorgonzola, which is that, funky cheese, and dates, and on a red sauce cheese pizza, and it is banging.
We've talked about you using that word.
I know, that's why I specifically just used it. It's a little better.
What does it do? You don't...
It lifts it up a little bit.
You don't pummel off the cliff? Is that a word?
Pummel?
Pummel. No, it's the wrong word. Plummet?
Plummet.
That's what I meant, yeah.
It's much better with milk. It'll be enjoyable with milk.
Is it a sideways thumb? Not up or down?
I don't know. It's a wilting sideways thumb.
Okay. This rating system is getting so good. A wilting sideways thumb.
Yeah, that's what I have to say.
We need somebody to listen to our episodes and grab every rating you've ever done and put it in order.
And make a little graphic of each one.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that sounds like a job for you. You love putting things in order.
I do. I was just listening to a tea podcast, actually, and I was blown away by their tea reviews. Like, I have work to do.
Well, I mean, that's their main gig.
I know, but it was just really impressive.
I doubt they have your charm.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I doubt they have your analogies of being thrown off a cliff while the black tea bodies wash over you too quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gold.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Real
I'm
shame.
still sweating. I just want you to know that.
Cool.
You can't see it, but
that's how sweat works. All right, we have a case today. It's a sad case. I know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to earmuff you, and it's a sad case. And the reason I am covering this is honestly because the victim really reminds me of Brad. He's described really similar, and he's just have a I don't know. I just felt connected to the victim more so than maybe somebody else might. So on April 11th of 2005.
Oh, wow. Pretty recent.
Yeah, it's current for us, which also makes it always more sad. Martha Freeman goes to her neighbor's house around 4 in the afternoon, and she says, "Call 911, my husband is dead." Not her exact word, but close to it. So when the police arrive, Martha is understandably hysterical. She's emotional. She's crying, right?
Yeah.
The police enter the home, and they find the body of Jeffrey Freeman on the floor of the master bathroom. He's partially in a sleeping bag. You might want to earmuff for the rest. And a black trash bag covers his face, and his body is wet. The 44-year-old had been beaten and strangled to death.
I'm back.
At the time of his death in 2005, Jeffrey and his wife lived in Brentwood, Tennessee, which is where Brad's from, Tennessee. And they'd been married for 10 years. Now, Brentwood it's a suburb of Nashville, if you don't know the area. And to date, it has about 45,000 people. It's mostly upscale neighborhoods, the kind of neighborhood where you walk your dog and bigger homes, a lot of suburbs right outside the city. And the couple lived in this beautiful brick home. It's about 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, just a really nice, quiet street. So a crime like this done to a man as friendly as Jeffrey was described to be is incredibly sad and confusing.
Yeah. Like, I can't imagine anybody hurting Brad because he's just like, people just said like good souls.
Yeah. And that's how he's described. And it really made me feel like they were similar. So with any investigation, right, you start by trying to piece together the victim's life and see what happened and who was in their world and who might have been in their orbit that could have done this, or was it a completely random stranger? So Jeffrey was described as incredibly hardworking, to the point of maybe even affectionately being called a workaholic.
Okay.
Just a really hard worker. He's 44 when he passed, and he spent most of his time at the office, and the people at the office loved him.
Of course they did.
He's described as kind, friendly, funny, just down to earth. He also is a huge University of Tennessee fan.
Oh my God, this is...
Yeah, it's exactly like my husband.
It's Brad.
Yeah. I have no doubt they would have been friends.
Oh man, besties.
My husband went to the University of Tennessee and is a huge Tennessee fan, so I didn't understand what it meant to be a SEC football fan until I married Brad. And nobody in my family understood either. I mean, I grew up in New England, and, my father always had the Patriots on, and we always watched football. But the first time I watched a Tennessee football game with my husband...
Oh, man. It's an experience, y'all.
I was blown away, and I told my dad about it, and he didn't believe me. So I started filming him, and I would send these videos to my dad, and my dad was just blown away. And it became this. My family waits every Saturday for my videos of Brad reacting to the game. Now it's become a thing. So I fully it's something I totally understand, and I just felt he's described as this this big, just really like teddy bear kind of a guy, right? Ugh. So prior to his death, Jeffrey and his wife had started a business from home, and it had grown really, really quick. It had started succeeding, and it's called Resifax. I'm not sure how they pronounced it, but they conducted background checks mostly for employment or apartment complexes. And it was so successful that they were quickly able to take that on as their full-time job and actually open an office because they're working from their home.
That's awesome. Good for them.
Which I think is partly why he was so dedicated to work. He was his own creation, right?
Yeah.
So Martha is just a few years younger than Jeffrey, but she doesn't share his affinity for the business.
Okay.
In fact, at this point in her life, she's growing pretty bored with her life, with the office, with the suburb. She describes her existence to her friends as being stuck on Wisteria Lane, which is a reference to that show, Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
Right. And she seems to be searching and striving and wanting something different than what she already has. She's also suffering from mental illness and is on a mix of painkillers and antidepressants to treat her depression, which that can be a tough tough balance to find.
Sure.
And so she's struggling even before this day happens.
And they don't have kids.
They don't have children, no.
Okay.
And the marriage is struggling as well.
Oh.
Okay. They're doing their best to try and make it work, but they've been married for a decade, and Martha's personally struggling, and the two of them are struggling as a unit. So the previous summer, the couple had actually gone through a separation. They lived apart for several months.
Okay.
On July 4th of 2004, Jeffrey and Martha had tried to have a night out on the town for 4th of July. So they'd actually gone into the city. They'd gone into Nashville. And I don't fully understand what happened between them, but Jeffrey decided he did not want to spend the night. He wanted to go home. Nashville is not far from Brentwood, so the whole idea of them even renting a hotel, I don't understand where that came from. I don't know if it was supposed to be a special...
like a date night special thing. Yeah, I could see it.
Or if...
make it different.
Or if she was staying there already because they were separated. I'm not 100% sure, but he decided he did not want to go back to the hotel and he wanted to go home. This made Martha upset because she wanted to be out partying.
Sure.
And so he went home and she stayed. She continued to party. And she meets up with a group of friends, 3 friends, and she brings them back to the hotel to continue the party. She will later admit to partying with all 3 of these men and having a foursome with them.
Okay.
So we're seeing reckless behavior.
Yep.
Already. So one of the men in particular, Rafael Rocco Perez, he's 35. He is tall, broad shoulders. He works as a bricklayer, and he's from Mexico, and he's in the USA illegally. She forms a relationship with him, and Martha and Rafael start living together in a motel, one of those like extended stay motels where you have the kitchenette and you know they're set up for long-term stays. They start living in this motel together. Rafael does not speak English. Martha does not speak Spanish.
Oh boy.
Apparently Martha purchased some sort of device where they could translate to each other by typing in what they wanted to say.
Okay.
After several months, they run out of money.
Sure.
I don't know how Martha was getting money in the first place. It does not sound like she was working during this time. But they run out of money, and being uncomfortable will make you rethink your choices.
Sure.
So Martha thinks, I've made a mistake. I had a really good life. I had a really nice house. I had a really nice husband, and I've made a mistake. Jeffrey has already talked to a divorce lawyer at this point just to see what his options are.
Okay.
Because they're not living in the same house.
Yeah. He's this huge house all to himself, just working away.
Yeah. But Martha goes back to him in the spring of 2005, and she begs him to take her back. Jeffrey agrees. I mean, I feel like this is just a testament to the kind of guy he is. He doesn't want to turn his back on a whole decade of marriage.
Yeah.
So he allows her to move back into the house, but it sounds like it's maybe a trial situation. He stays in the master bedroom and she's in the guest room.
Got it.
So they're in separate rooms trying to make it work. So Martha's there for about a month, maybe a little bit more. And like I said, they're living in separate rooms. Jeffrey gets up and he goes to work in the morning. It doesn't sound like Martha was going into the office with him at this point.
Okay, so she wasn't doing anything.
But I don't know for sure. Maybe she was still working.
Got it.
But he's getting up and he's leaving. I'm not sure. I can't imagine the kind of temperature in the house at that point. It's got to be a little strained and awkward, or
A little icy.
sometimes, icy, or sometimes that kind of uber polite, where you're like strangers.
I hate it.
I'm not sure.
I hate
it. Yeah. So anyway, by April, she's been there about a month, and on April 10th, Jeffrey's it's nighttime, and he hears a noise coming from Martha's room. So, he runs in there to make sure she's okay.
Don't go in.
And he opens the door, and Martha's in bed, asleep, and he hears a man snoring.
Seriously?
Raphael is in Martha's closet, asleep.
I assume she knows about him. Like, she stuck him in.
Yes, he's been there the entire month.
F her.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, from this point on, all we have is the account of Martha or Raphael. Martha says that Jeffrey discovered Raphael, obviously got mad and said, "I'm going for a walk. When I get back, he's gone." Which, if that is true, which I have
very good way of handling it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. This man is unbelievable. Like, I have to believe it's true because it's coming from her, and it's not making her look any better.
Right.
Like, what? Who is this man? He's a saint. He says, when I come back, he's gone. And he takes the dogs for a walk to get out of the house and let Raphael get out. As you can imagine, that doesn't happen.
Seriously?
Jeffrey comes home from the walk. And this is where the story just goes in a bunch of different directions. But what the police believe happened is that the two of them, Martha and Raphael, ambushed Jeffrey.
Come on. He hasn't done anything wrong.
Nothing. One of them beat him with the butt of a shotgun.
Oh my God.
One of them actually bound his hands, and one of them held him at gunpoint, which is why they believe both people were involved from the start. You're going to want to earmuff. They placed plastic on his head, most likely to keep the floor clean. And then he was also strangled with a telephone wire.
I'm back.
So when the police find Jeffrey, right, they found him on the floor of the master bathroom. It also appeared that his body has been moved from the bathtub, which is another reason why they believe both of the people had to take two people, because his hands were bound.
He's a big guy.
And he'd been moved. The ultimate cause of death was ruled as strangulation.
Did Martha ever, obviously she would make herself seem as good as possible. It's from her point of view. Did she ever say, he was abusive or mean or anything?
No.
So he's just this guy living in his house, and they do this.
Mm-hmm.
Get wrecked.
Yeah. This happened on April 10th. It's not until the next day at 4 p.m., remember how the story started, that Martha goes to the neighbor and tells the neighbor to call 911.
That's not going to help. That's going to be really weird.
And she immediately blames Raphael.
Cool. Good job.
So in addition to finding Jeffrey's body, the police also found black garbage bags, which are filled with wet bath mats, pieces of telephone cord, pillowcase covered in blood, and the rest of the house outside of the bathroom appears to be just untouched. A towel was also found with both Martha and Raphael's DNA on it. So one of the theories is that actually Jeffrey didn't discover Raphael sleeping, but maybe he discovered Raphael and Martha in an intimate moment, and then things progressed from there, which is possible.
That's more likely, I think, because when you said he heard a noise, that's what I was expecting. Because you're not going to really wake up and hear a noise. If somebody's snoring, it could be Martha, But obviously those other noises would be
right.
different.
We also have somebody go back to Dolly. I mean, Otto was in the attic for a decade.
Yeah.
And so who knows? Yeah, I mean, this only was a few weeks. Yeah, that's a possibility. Also, the fingerprints in the house are belong to the two of them, Martha and Raphael.
What were they thinking?
I know. Raphael was actually immediately arrested and was already in custody because a neighbor had seen a strange man run into a house, and he was found hiding in the rafters of a house kind of in the neighborhood. And so he had already been in custody, and now Martha's named him as the person who did it, even though she waited 16 to 17 hours to call for help.
Like, was she just in the house with him?
We'll get into what she did that day.
Oh, God.
Originally, Raphael is the only one arrested.
Yeah.
And Martha actually goes to his initial court appearance to testify.
That's messed up.
And she claims that Jeffrey returned home. Raphael grabbed him and pointed the gun at him. She says Jeffrey started to pray, and Raphael shoved him into the bathroom. Martha said she heard noises. This is a quote. CNN quotes her as saying, "I heard water running. I heard a lot of thumping, a lot of noise. I was absolutely terrified of what was going on. And also, if he could have done this to my husband, I'm not sure what he was going to do to me."
Okay.
Yeah. Use a telephone.
Ugh.
Use a telephone. Police say, "Well, okay, why didn't you call for help?" And she says, "I have no answer for that."
Really? That's her response?
Mm-hmm. And Martha claims she has no idea what really happened, but that Raphael did it. And the police, well, if you know Raphael did it, then you were there. So
yeah,
what's happening? So during the time that she was not calling the police, right? That's like 16 to 17 hours. She said she took the dogs for a walk, filled a few prescriptions,
what?
Called her in-laws to let them know that Jeffrey would not be doing his weekly call today because he'd taken some medication and was sleeping. And called the office to tell them Jeffrey wouldn't be coming in.
What's her long-term plan saying this stuff? She's incriminating herself by telling the in-laws this.
I don't know. But this is a man who calls his mother every week like clockwork.
That's so sweet.
Ugh. And Martha admits that Raphael had been living in the closet for about a month. She admits to that, says it's true. So it's a 2x8 space, so it's not huge, and it contained pillows, blankets, a foam mattress that he used as a bed, a Nintendo Game Boy, 3 loaves of bread, some pornographic magazines.
Perfect. You need
also,
that.
CNN reports that it contained a bag that had lingerie, and this is a quote, pictures of Martha Freeman in various stages of undress.
Okay. What about a chamber pot?
During the day, because Jeffrey was such a hardworking guy, during the day, Raphael had free reign of the house and would just watch TV, play games, and eat food.
I really don't like them.
So like I said, the police only charge Raphael to start, and Martha's testifying, explaining how this is the man that murdered her husband. The judge actually interrupts Martha and says, "I've got a problem with allowing this to go any further without allowing her some representation because I can see her being charged in this case." He would not let her continue to testify because even he said, obviously you're involved and you would need legal representation to continue.
But would she really need to?
Yeah, 4 months later, she was also charged.
But is it a requirement? Like, is the judge trying to protect her there? I don't understand that move.
I think that he didn't want her saying stuff that would be inadmissible later on because she didn't have legal representation.
So, like, he wanted to make it as fair as possible.
He wanted to make it as legal as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's his job.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So Martha was charged with first-degree murder as well as Raphael. And she actually turned herself in and was released on bail for $75,000.
Wow.
Raphael couldn't make bail, and he was in prison. And actually, I told you he was a bricklayer.
Yeah.
Bricklayers that he worked with pooled their money together to get him a lawyer.
That's nice of them.
And he had no criminal record in Mexico or in the U.S., and he says that he was set up by Martha. He also says that he didn't live there in the closet, that he would sometimes stay there if she wanted him there for the night. but that he didn't live there the whole time and that he was set up by her. I don't know what that means because it still seems like there need to be two people.
Yeah, you still did the deed. It's not like, well, like, did she hold a gun to his head?
I don't know. I mean, you're still living in a man's closet. So
yeah.
I don't really, I mean, you've made bad choices already, sir. So it only took the jury 2 hours to deliberate, and they found both of them guilty of first-degree murder.
Good.
Which is 51 years before parole. Martha attempted to get an appeal in 2014 based off stating that she did not have adequate legal representation, that her lawyers advised her not to take a plea bargain, and she should have taken a plea bargain. And they advised her not to. If she had taken the plea bargain, then she would have been sentenced to 20 years, but eligible for parole after 6. And she stated that her lawyers gave her bad advice. And
I mean, tough shit, right?
Well, when the defense tried to bring this into the appeals court, their main argument was that because Martha didn't try to cover up the crime scene, she wasn't involved.
Okay, great team of lawyers there.
The Tennessee Court of Appeals refused to hear it. The case.
Good.
Both of them are now serving life in prison. They're not eligible for parole until 2063.
That's a long time away.
Yeah. So what do you think happened? I hate that Martha talks about struggling with mental illness. I just don't think that's fair to people who have mental illness.
You mean to blame it on that?
She was saying that, like that's why she didn't take action as she was listening. I just don't believe that. She had a man living in her closet.
Yeah, she made a lot of choices like that she fully made.
So I think that she had most of the power in the relationship with Raphael because
he's undocumented.
Yeah, he doesn't have any options and he doesn't speak English. So I think that she...
Right. I mean, she could constantly threaten him like, oh, I'm going to call the cops on you. Just like, because he probably lives with that fear of like, if he gets scooped up by the wrong people.
Well, and that's why he was the first person that she blamed. He made a really easy target. And so
that makes it even worse. I mean, he did terrible
He had to have
things,
been involved somehow.
That's so crappy.
It's terrible, but I wonder if that wasn't her plan from the start.
That's gross.
Is to have somebody that she could easily blame, because he became just a perfect target. And when he was picked up for hiding in the rafters, right? I mean, they find out that he's not documented and does not have the visa to be here. So
they kept him.
So it makes it almost works. But I don't think that it was that planned, simply because the rest of the rest of the time seemed to just kind of unravel and not really make any sense. But yeah. Anyway,
it's just. Do you know anything about her, like her past? I mean, did she grow up wealthy?
Yeah, that's a good point. No, there's not a lot on her, and there's not a lot on either one of them really before this day. But I don't know I don't know how she grew up. Or that is a good point, though. There's usually a lot of trauma indicators. So, but I don't want to excuse the choices that she made. I mean, this is just so. I mean, Dolly. We covered the boy living in the attic. Dolly to me makes more sense than this.
Yeah.
Right. With Otto lived in the attic for a decade, and she hid it from her husband, and that makes more sense to me than this case. This seems so underhanded and
slimy,
sneaky, and slimy. And it's
gross.
That's why I feel so like Jeffrey just seemed like the nicest guy.
It's just, there's almost a sense of, I mean, laziness might not be the right word, but like, you're in the 21st century where, women have rights for the most part, and you can make choices, and you can move around, and you can work hard, and you can go into different industries. Like, you can for the most part, of course, there's different barriers and limitations depending on your situation, but you can make your life as close to what you want to as you can. Like you can strive for that. She was just sitting around. I mean, she was working at the with Jeffrey, but like you can make choices. If you don't like something in your life, don't squander it. Don't take it out on the person who you've made that life with. Like, make an actual change for yourself so that you're not bored, so that you can be more comfortable, whatever it is. It's like, it's bullshit what she did, obviously, on many levels, but just like the initial part of it is BS. Like, of course, we all go through those periods where like, what am I doing with my life? Right? Like, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
But there are so many different paths nowadays that's why I keep going to lazy. I don't know why.
Because when we do older cases, you and I can understand it a little bit more.
Right.
These women make tough choices, but it's usually able to be traced back to the fact that because they have no
They're
other
in a
choices.
corner.
Yeah. They have no other choices.
And that does happen to some women today for sure.
Absolutely.
Like in shitty situations. But
Absolutely.
that was not her.
No.
To be clear.
She
had a wonderful husband with a boring life. Okay.
He would have divorced her.
Yeah.
If that's what she had wanted. It sounds like he would have given it another shot if that's what she had wanted.
Makes me so mad.
Yes. And again, that's not to say that there are, like you said, there are still people who find themselves in situations that are awful.
But she was not in
one
that.
of them. No, Jeffrey was in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
He was being taken advantage of. He was being used for his hard work.
Right. And his compassion and his forgiveness. Also, like, how do I want to change my life and make steps to get there? Don't just be like crazy asshole.
Yeah, don't drag other people down.
Don't murder people.
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, even before this terrible act, I mean, the things she was doing were
right.
Just going to a hotel and having a foursome with other men while she's married,
it's like and super dangerous too.
Yeah, and then leaving him and staying at the hotel. And
this is what the trial happened in 2005. You said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it only took a couple hours to come back with a verdict. She still maintains that she was outside the room. I don't honestly know how that makes it any better.
Right.
How does that make it any better?
Was she bound up?
Yeah, exactly. If I was in that situation, I would be either trying to get into the room or trying to get out of the house to get help.
I would be fighting tooth and nail.
I mean, to me, there only seem to be two options. And just sitting there and listening isn't one of them. But
despicable is what I say.
Yes. So,
well, at least justice was served, though. That is the bright star here.
Yeah, that is true. And hopefully that brought some peace to the family. Although I imagine that peace is so short-lived, you know?
Yeah.
It's better than the alternative, but you're not going to get your brother or your son or your uncle back.
It's just got to gut you every day, probably, the parents.
Yeah. So I feel just a soft spot for Jeffrey. His UT connection and growing up in Tennessee and living in Tennessee. I'm sure he's missed every day. And I don't know. This one is so bizarre. I don't even know what advice to give to prevent something like this. Like, I don't even know that any kind of intervention would have helped at any point.
I mean, maybe counseling so she could, she probably was getting counseling if she was on antidepressants.
I would assume if she was on antidepressants, she must have been seeing somebody. And again, I don't think that that's the reason behind this behavior, because there's plenty are on antidepressants and
shit tons,
and I mean, just spending the day while he's in the house running errands.
I can't imagine. Do you think she was actually? Oh, she didn't clean up the crime scene at all.
Well, they had obviously made some attempt because there were things in garbage bags,
right? So I wonder if that's what she did that day.
But all of the garbage bags were still there.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? Like, do you think they got in a fight?
Who, Martha and Raphael, or
Raphael? Yeah. And then so he left and she's like, oh, I got to finish cleaning up. And then she just leaves all the garbage bags.
I honestly have no idea. I mean, it makes more sense that Jeffrey would have happened upon Raphael and then the attack would have happened quickly.
No, I mean after. Do you think they got in a fight after they killed him?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, imagine the chaos at that moment.
It's also possible that it was planned.
You think they planned? Yeah, that's another thing I was thinking. Like, you think it was a spur of the moment thing, or they're like, if this situation ever happens, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that they planned it because his body was wet. So, I mean, he could have been in the tub
with water.
Yes. He could have been in the tub and they could have he might never even have heard anything. Right? We only have Martha's account that he heard Raphael and then came in.
So they could have snuck up on him in the bathtub, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible too. Think of him, you can't, that's a pretty vulnerable situation to be in.
Yeah, it is.
Right? You can't move quickly or especially if you're held at gunpoint. So I don't know what to believe because it seems unlikely to me that you would return back to a house without just an unbelievable rage and anger when you had found, like if I found that Brad had a person living in the closet of the guest room, I would probably just immediately leave the home.
Yeah.
Or kick him out and wait till he left the home. But that's a possibility too, which is even more saddening, right?
I hate it.
It just makes me feel so sad and uncomfortable. And usually like when we do those older cases, you can connect in some way, but I only feel for Jeffrey and his family.
It's really sad.
That is a case of the Freemans.
Man, bad choices.
It's amazing what people are willing to do to one another.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Okay, do you have any last words?
Gratitude journals, life planning, talking, choices. Use these things to your advantage.
Sounded like a haiku.
Yes, it's a haiku.
All right, well, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram at
Tea Time Crimes.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com.
You can rate, review, or subscribe to make sure you get the latest podcasts. And we cover a lot of different cases that stretch over hundreds of years. So if one isn't to your liking, like Alana, then come back another time and get one of our more historical cases.
Yeah.
And take a listen.
Tell your peeps.
Yeah.
That's what helps us. Spread the word.
Because I like to continue to cover these stories. I like to dive into the history and the reasons and the motivations that women had available to them at all times. And I also like to remember victims like Jeffrey who just seem like good, honest, sweet people. Yeah. So thank you for listening. And unless Alana's got any other words of wisdom,
I'm run dry. All right. Bye.
Bye.